So welcome everyone, and today I thought we should I have been hard at work trying to get everything working with .NET 6 and onwards, or 5 or onwards really. I was under the illusion that it was already done a long time ago, but as I wanted to fix a few small things, I discovered that there were at least one gigantic thing that wasn't working properly. And basically what was wrong or strange is that I was under the assumption that I could wait this out, that Visual Studio 2024, or what it will be called, 25 maybe, should be a .NET 8 compiled product, so that everything would just work seamlessly. Because the major hurdle is that the process space is different for .NET 5, 6, 8 than it is for .NET Framework 4.7.2 or 4.8. And the Visual Studio as such is, sorry, you look...
The process space, you said? What does that mean?
So you can't share execution of these two frameworks. It's different.
Thank you.
And then, of course, Microsoft had a bit of trouble getting everything into one product, Visual Studio. So basically what they did was to introduce an out-of-process designer. So they start separate processes to actually execute the .NET things separately from the framework things. And that's all and good, but when you do that for like a Windows Forms designer, there's a lot of things that happen. So I'm gonna go into that, but I'm gonna start from the beginning. So to just I'm gonna close this and start a new Visual Studio, and I'm gonna create a new project, and I'm gonna go for this new template, MDriven solution templates. We only have one template now, and that sort of covers all of the examples, and if you can pick and choose the projects that you want to keep, or if you want to copy and make something similar. So I'm going to create that one. And this is what shows up, and we have some exclamation marks on things initially, but they seem to clean up, and if I build everything, they should be okay. So build succeeded. And if we were to check the NuGet packages for solution, we would find it's thinking that we are using the following packages. So we're going to discuss a bit about, and this is really good because now the template is actually pulling in packages by itself, so we don't send along old packages with the templates as such. Of course, the version that's in the template will still be old when you get this, because there's new things all the time, but that's clearly discovered here that what was pulled was 108 and what's current is 124. So that's something that one could just update the normal way. If we were to look at these projects, there are 5 of them. So there's one called MDriven Ecospace and Model .NET Standard, and this is it's both the ecospace, and we should also be able to see the designer. Let's see if it wants to open the designer. Okay, maybe like that. It's like this, so this is what we are used to. The important things here is that you can put some persistence mappers on here, or persistence mappers providers, and that you can select what packages to actually use from the model. I have chosen in this simple example to put the model inside the ecospace assembly, just to keep the number of projects down. But of course you can easily save this as another name and keep the model in one and the ecospace in the other if that's preferable. So the model is there as well. And if we were to, we can have that open. This follows the new, I'm not sure what this is called, but the .NET. Okay, from now on I'm going to say .NET when I mean .NET 5 and onwards, and .NET Framework when I'm talking about the old stuff. So the model or the project format, you remember before you had to like unload the project and then you could see the XML that built, or the MS build script that built up the project file. For the new things, the .NET things, the project opens just like this, and here you can actually change the NuGet versions straight up here, and that's if you know what you want, it's faster than any other way. And what's important is this piece that says target frameworks. So in order for this solution to be able to run both .NET Framework and .NET using the same ecospace code, it's not the same instances, because as soon as you say that it targets multiple frameworks, that means that it depends. It will be compiled in 2 ways. So why it's important to have the .NET 4.7.2 label or framework as the first one is because that Visual Studio actually just looks at the first one. It ignores the other ones. So this is something that is a happy coincidence, because that means that this designer form, open with component Windows Forms Designer. This one is actually running in the Visual Studio process space as .NET 4.7.2. That doesn't mean I can't use it in other projects that target .NET. I can, simply because that I've said that this is target frameworks and not target framework, which the normal tag is. And that I've said that it also supports this one. And I can basically say whatever different frameworks here. After I compile this, that will mean that there will be a bin folder and a debug, and then there will be two outputs. One 4.7.2 and one .NET 8.
Hans, could we have a quick look at if you were to right-click on that project and select properties, what that looks like?
Yes. So here it says the same thing. So this is pulled from the multiple. Can I zoom this? Yes. So it's a class library, and so this screen is totally different than for framework. This is the new .NET screen for properties. So the project style is for .NET, but the project as such is framework. So that's about that one. I'm gonna guess I'm gonna close this one. And what we did then was to have a small WinForms example for the old framework. So this is the stuff that has worked from before and still works. So it's a very crude and simple sample. It just has one button, and in this button, the initialize is just starting up the ecospace, and it tells it to initialize the view models if you want to use those. It also starts the WinForm dequeuer to update UI when there's time. And it also starts the async handling. That's optional, but very good for MDriven systems that want to have a non-locking UI. And then it activates the ecospace. After this, it sort of initialized the reference handle, and all of these things we can actually do in design time as well, but for some reason I did it here. And what should happen when we if we set this as startup project, okay, now it takes time. Let's see. Yeah, there's a file lock. Tell you what, I'm not quite sure where that comes from, but I'm gonna do it. Okay, it didn't mind the file lock. Then we can run it. So and the button new creates a new thing object, and this button associates that to the view model control that we have here. Yeah, I can't change it while I'm running. So if I push this one, I will populate this view model with this current row, and I can check that by writing something here that it's the same row. So that's the very simple example that covers most of the things that we offer with the WinForms UI in MDriven. And if we then move on to the .NET 8, which is, I'm going to set that as startup project. You see that these pull in the bitmaps from the toolbox. I'm fighting a bit with that. I'm not sure if that is how it's supposed to be, but according to the documentation, it's essential that it does this in order to be able to function on different platforms, because it's only Windows that supports this kind of resources and things. All other platforms like Mac and things actually just copy bitmaps and reference them on file, as I understand it. So this .NET 8 project is pretty much the same. It does the same things, and what's amazing is that one can now design the expression handle and take, and I say amazing, you might think that this is nothing, and it should be nothing, because you can get out the columns and the columns are there, and you can actually design the expressions in the OCL editor. And why do I sound so extremely happy that this is actually working? Well, if we were to look at the task manager, let's pull that in, it's over here. And we can filter on dev env. And this is the one I'm running. And let's see if I do, what's it called? It's maybe I'm not allowed to show that now. Let's do it like this then. Dev. What I wanted to show was the fact that there's a separate process started behind the scenes. And for some reason I can't show that now, but that's called something like designer host. Yeah, let's search on that. That's the one, design tool server. So that started by Visual Studio, and all of this rendering is actually done by that process. And that means that what was really complex for us was that when you are here, you're actually in another process. And what we needed to do was to be able to take all the information from that process, package it on some kind of transport, and take it to the Visual Studio process. And we needed to do that both ways, because MDriven is special in that way that most WinForms designers tend to suffice with what in the current view. But not us. No, we need to go out and find the ecospace. We need to introspect the ecospace to reverse the model. We need to know what types there are. We need to be able to evaluate expressions, etc. And all of this was totally impossible to do in process. And so there was quite a lot of work to get that, to get the understanding that this was actually the case. But one good thing followed by me understanding that was the case, because we have had the separate issue with framework from before, that we needed to put eco handles and eco interfaces in global assembly cache. And the reason we needed to do that was that Visual Studio all of a sudden sort of pulled some of the assemblies and types that it showed us in design time from these compiled things. So we could get the MDriven interfaces from the project, but we also had the MDriven interfaces from our design time environment. And these types weren't the same. They were loaded from different places. And that's apparently totally okay, to load the same assembly multiple times into the same process. They will be treated as totally different types and not comparable. And that really tripped us up. And the solution to handle them as, to see them as the same thing, is if we can force them to load from the same place on the hard drive. And the only way we can intercept and force things to load from a certain place is the global assembly cache. So that was the reason. I really never understood fully why it was so special. But as soon as that's Prio 1, it will always check there first. But note this is only true for framework. It's not true for .NET. So for .NET, that wasn't an option. We couldn't force types into global assembly cache and hoping that would help us out in resolving multiple loaded assemblies. So as we had the issue of incomparable types from different frameworks already, and we had the old issue of incomparable types from different places on the hard drive. This is actually the same problem, that we have incomparable types. We think we have the same information, but .NET can't compare it. So whenever we sort of clicked a thing like this expression handle and took, let's add some columns, for example, the columns are added in design time. And when I press OK, this list is handed over to the process that called it. And if they are not comparable, even if, of course, they are the same, but they are from two different assemblies, not loaded from the same place on the disk, it won't work. So that's why we got all those strange errors. But as we had to solve it for .NET, the .NET environment, which would never be comparable, and we solved it by streaming things back and forth over these process boundaries, we could use the same strategy to process things back and forth between the different assembly types. And that means that we no longer need to put things in the global assembly cache. And that's really, really good. And why it has been such a bother for us to put things in the global assembly cache is that since that has prio 1, it will always take that instead of the NuGet types that you put into the projects when you debug. So you didn't really debug the things that you thought you debugged. And that was a support creator bigger than God. So I'm very happy to say that we no longer need the global assembly cache. To ensure this, we have in the about box added a small thing here that should be green, and it says nothing in the GAC, this is good. And the version numbers will now be 7.2. And nothing.2 should ever go in the GAC, and why we increase the numbers is that if you have old 7.0 things in the GAC, they won't disturb what we're doing now, because now we only listen for 7.2. Yes, good. So this is a big step forward when it comes to us understanding how we're going to utilize .NET going forward. Because I was under the presumption that I would be able to incorporate a Blazor designer, etc. into Visual Studio as in the normal build. But as I've been doing this, I've come to the conclusion that that will not be possible, because Blazor is .NET and not .NET Framework. So that designer must be out of process. And if it's out of process, it needs a way to communicate back and forth to the main process. So that's the same problem again, but now we have that under control, so to speak. So I'm fairly confident that we will be able to move forward with that, knowing all this. So that was the two straight up WinForms project, and for the VPF projects, they also incorporated what we call the vecpath with the whole. Of course, you don't need to use that, but since we have it, it was practical to put it in there. So for .NET 8, if we were to F5 that one, I think it's taking time because it's these are locked. And I think it was our type. Let's see. Yeah. All right. I forgot to set this as a startup project. It's not enough just to look at it really hard yet. And then that comes up with all the things from the model, including actions and the UI from there. So one could play around with that. And the last one is then the exact same thing, but for .NET Framework. And it might be, yeah, let's open that one up as well. So you can see in the sign time. One thing we should mention is that for .NET Framework, we still need some of the old packages, because what we want to do going forward for .NET, we don't use the old packages. We only use the packages called MDriven. But for framework, we need to get some of the framework built for VPF and for WinForms. So if we were to look at this, it has these two packages. And these packages are now built with .NET Standard. And .NET Standard, as I have come to understood it, is actually not a framework as such. It's just fulfilling a standard, so that can compile to all other frameworks. And that's why it's handy. So if you can write something, a library or something, and keep it in .NET Standard, then you don't have the hassle to recompile it in all the other frameworks that, and when I say frameworks, I mean like .NET 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 around the corner. So these will work with all those. They will also work with .NET, Net Framework 4.7.2 and 4.8. So we will start to remove the old packages containing handles and interfaces and link extender that starts with eco, because that might be confusing since these fulfill the same need. So this has greatly reduced the complexity in our builds, and also showing a clear path forward on how we're gonna continue to add things. Any questions on this?
Seems simple enough now when you have solved the problem.
Yeah.
I'm just
No,
lucky
no
I didn't
biggie.
have to.
I was lucky, yeah.
Well, I was lucky that I didn't have to do it. I have, so please, if questions, we're waiting for those, but after that I have some things to show from about what we're doing in other, with other things. But no questions about, but the summary, Hans, with this, right, if I get your point, is that there will be easier to not have GAC confusion, which will make it easier to run the designer and install things for the future. It also means that we are ready to move to next generation Visual Studio when that happens. And this will also open up for, you at least have mentioned a feature to me. I don't know how far you're along there, but that the designer of view models will be maybe Blazor based, so that you will have like more of this very old term, what you see is what you get. That means that the designer will actually include, by default, you could say, more of exactly how it will look, because it's there's a web renderer that actually renders the designer surface. Is that correct?
Yes. So that's the aim. To what we already do with what we call live edit. We want to further improve to be more integrated, because this might not even.
I think I have a similar thing that I was going to show, not live edit per se, but I was going to run the designer and show a couple of things here. So maybe, but there you have, yes, there you have an integrated designer. That should be what is it, a full citizen of the Visual Studio
Yeah.
experience and the designer.
So this live view is it solves quite a few problems, but then it brings a few problems as well, because it integrates with the current data of the system that you connect to. So that's really good, especially when you're doing web design, to see how the data folds and see the real data that you have. But of course, if you then change the model, which you tend to do as soon as you discover that something is a bit off, then it's easily broken. So we need a step between this and the normal view model editor, where we can still do web, but we don't have the live data forcing us to be careful on what we do in the model. We need to be able to change the model quickly.
And if you're designing with WPF in mind, then you would just use the previous version, or would you still use this one? How would that work?
So if you have targeting VPF, you still have this view model editor that is the main designer for that. We don't have actually, there is a similar thing to see live data in this as well, but and that would be through the debugger. So if we were to start that with a running system, so you could go like this, and then one can see a particular view model here, and if
you can also run the application also, but that's maybe not what you are offering. You can run the application in WPF, and it's like almost as
well. What I meant was that we have this read button and the hot reload button.
Yes.
So that means that I'm just gonna find a root object so that we can show. So this is the root object, and I'll assign that to here, and then I'm free to go to view one. Oh, not that one, this one. Where did it go? And assign that to here, and then I'm free to go to view one thing. So if I have this and check the hot reload, then ideally, if I close the blocking, and let's see if I can have these both on screen. And then if I move things here, it should be updated, and then that's pretty much the same effect that you have real data, but you can see how it behaves still.
And that works with container objects too?
With placing containers. Yeah.
Placing containers, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Very nice.
Yes. So I always need to hedge to test before saying yes. Good question.
So before we run out of time, can I just show or talk a bit about other things?
Yes.
As we've mentioned, and I think actually quite a few of them are here in the meeting, we have we're building a new team in Kampala in Uganda, and we're going there on Friday actually for a company conference, and we're talking about what is it that MDriven is going to do in 2025. And we of course knows some of these things, so we're talking about how we're doing it. And the whole Kampala team, there will be about 6 people. They're entirely focused on increasing usability and accessibility. You could say not accessibility in that sense, but I mean ease of use of our products. So you will find more and more on the wiki, you will find more and more on the blog, you will find more and more on YouTube, you will find more and more things that enables you to deploy to different places. There are new articles on how to use Docker, Kubernetes, Linux, and different runtime environments, and how you set them up, and a different architecture that you can deploy. So that's like the advanced part of it. But there is also a lack, and we have known this for, of course, for many years, but we haven't had the ability. So I want to show something that I was shown by one of our team members. I think, yeah, he's here, but he's sneaky. Charles, he showed me a couple of his examples, and that was, I think, I'll try to show here, and I'm looking to the side here because I have it on a different screen. So what he did was he showed me, yes, I'm running the local designer, and that has a new way of starting, which is good. So when you download that one, it will install a little application, and every time you start that little application, it will give you the latest designer. So I've started the designer, and then I got 2 tiny little apps, dashboard and finance app. Start with dashboard. And what he wants to show, and these are the kinds of example will be many of. There will be more whole applications, and there will also be more of components and more of the how do you integrate the nice looking things. So because we feel that there's not that much lacking from the ability of the core features of MDriven, but it is hard for anyone really to see how do I piece together a good looking app quickly. So this one, the end result looks like this. I'll just show you how it. So, and I think it's neat how you can just make a dashboard that includes these different graphs types, and it's all very neatly integrated, and you can provide the information. And it uses, I don't know how flexible it is, but yeah, not bad, right? This one apparently isn't fully smooth, but in general, okay, now it re-rendered. So yes, I would say not bad. This, I don't know, these are coming from components, line chart module. So, and these are all components that will be available straight into the designer. You can refresh the Git repository, and you can just ask to add it. And then you can have a view model that provides the data, and then you will have these more good looking things. So what I did to do this, to use this, I just went to the designer. I opened the dashboard demo in this case, opened that, pressed play, local Turnkey prototyper. I restarted the Turnkey server core. I got the server running in this one because I just want to have it locally and try it out, and dashboard, and I got this here. And then this just fakes data. I think this is a nice example that he made. So let's pick another one. I haven't done anything. I just opened them. So here you have a model, and you have views, something budget category. So here you have the data provided to the components, I think at least. He should be the one holding these things, not me just showing off what he has done. But yeah. And then we press play. And yes, the data is the data is just in a little bit of XML here. So, like you can do it. So this is the data persisted simply by, instead of having a database. And then we press local return key, we restart it to get this model instead. We get a server running, and we get another application. Has a little thing there, and then you have a budget, which I think is neat. This is just coloring and placing containers, but it actually it's quite nice how you can shape things and put some colors on it. And this uses styles in model, which I think I've also underutilized. It's a very easy way to bind and put coloring on things instead of having to write your own CSS. And then another kind of dashboard I think he made. Yes, so he used the same components here. So the main point wasn't to see everything about these applications. It's about talking. It's about this effort that we're doing to put all these examples into the hands of our developers, so that you don't have to figure out all of it. You can copy and paste as a way to get started, and then you can put your stuff and data into it. And if you look at this also, and you combine these examples with the new ways, for example, you could follow the instructions. There will be both video and text on how to, for example, use Docker Desktop, and then you can use what's called, I think it's called Docker Compose, so that you can say, hey, I want a turnkey server, an MDriven server, or I want 5 turnkey servers, 1 MDriven server, and 1 MySQL. And then it will run those in several containers, and then you can have like a whole setup running locally that simulates what would be in a production environment. So yeah, so that's what we're going to do. We're heading to away from this cold place in Northern Europe to the equator, and we'll talk to the whole team about in 2025 how we're going to make it easier for everyone to use the products. Yeah, that was my pitch for 2025. That's at least one of the things. And of course, then Hans will come on with these extremely complicated descriptions of .NET Core and framework intricacies. But for the rest of us who wants colorful graphs, we also have you covered.
Yeah, really good, Charles. It looks brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what we've been doing quite many years is running straightforward and not tending enough to anyone that wants to join. So what's it all about now is that it should be easier to join, and you should get something for your effort really quick.
Mm-hmm. And and I think that will also benefit everyone who has been along for a long time, because there's so many new things that can be very hard to integrate into your existing projects, and there's simply not enough time to do it. So I think a lot of people, like we ourselves, that we're doing on our portal, it looks not as it should. You want an easy way to integrate new features into existing projects and to move to cooler looking things or better looking things. So that's where a lot of effort is going. Also excited, I don't know if I said that, but we are starting to have students at a couple of universities that are going to try to learn modeling, information modeling, by using our tool as not as a prime, how should I put this? I mean, UML and modeling is in any university class in IT, developer thing, but they don't have a play button. And we want to now say, hey, universities and others who study information, there's a play button on your diagram. How about getting a tool that gives you the play button instead of having a tool that doesn't give you the play button? Because if you look at all these drawing tools that are used in schools, they don't have the play button, and it's a crucial part. And we've gotten also the funny feedback, but I said I also got this. It's not the generation, the millennials. No, it's not them. It's the Gen Z or something, right? They don't have enough attention span to actually code. They need something faster, and maybe that's a good thing, right? We need to learn.
Could be.
Any questions?
Anything that you want us to bring up in coming sessions?
Exactly, and or now with the team when we have this MDriven internal conference next week. Yeah,
I thought Derek said something that he was muted.
I was just talking to myself. Don't worry. Yeah, no, I was just saying. I'm looking forward to trying out some of the things, the modules, and trying to you expand my use of the web-based tools more than I have done historically. So, and this will be a good entry gate for the likes of young people, but also for the likes of old dogs learning new tricks. Yeah, so I appreciate it. Thank you. Yes. Sure.
Yeah, and I think one way to get web technology rolling is to actually pull in web views in existing FAT clients to do some of the things server side. So it's quite doable with the tools that are available now. Good. Maybe we should quit 5 minutes early.
Oh, there's someone says here, is there any prospect of, and then I didn't see, is there any prospect of having derived qualified links in the model editor? What does that mean?
So qualified links is a thing of OCL where you do it in the language, you do the brackets, and then so basically if we were to take a all right, I need to share. Okay, where's the share button? There. Entire screen. That screen. So, sorry. Let's see. Suppose that we go from value store to all things having a value store value. So let's zoom this in. Then one could argue that it would be neat if there was a qualifier on this, meaning that from value store I could say thing bracket attribute 1 equals something, and that would reduce the number of values that I get. So it's basically what a qualifier is I shouldn't say just, but it is still
is it like a select statement for one thing?
Yeah, so it's self dot thing, so that's all things, but it selects on and this is where I've done some research on how we would implement it, but the problem is I haven't been able to deduce from the standard what is the criteria. How do you define the criteria when you just use the brackets? Because you need to point out what's the filtering. Is it the attribute 1 that must be equal to some input value that is your qualifier, or is it something else? So that's one of the things, and of course this would be totally easy to do, but it might be very resource intensive, because this would pull all things into memory, and filter away 99% of them and keep something.
Which kind of moots the point with the filtering.
Yeah. So, but then we have the thing dot ps eval that would mitigate that. But then you need to be aware of we need to subscribe to something in order to avoid going stale, because when do we want to refresh it? If we just ask the database on what the real result is, that's only valid for the exact time that we asked. That might change. And of course the PSEval have this beautiful ability to actually send in a depend upon, which could be anything. It could be even be a attribute on a global singleton somewhere, so that you could say that now it's time to refresh, and when you hit F5 you change that value. So I wouldn't say that all the mechanisms are available. It's but we don't have it integrated into the language today. We do have it in the parser, but we don't handle it. We say that you probably misuse the brackets because you're going to use at to get to it. But the brackets are really the qualifier. So I don't know. If you, Rolf, have an urge, you could really preferably just explain how it worked, because I think you tried to replicate how it worked in bold, but I never used it in bold, and I don't know how to pick the qualifying target, and I don't know if it would always, as I've read the specification, it seems to be able to return a list and not only a single object. So there could be multiple hits. Yeah, good. He will look into the bold projects, he says, so good. Well, now it's time to leave.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you very much for showing up, and
Thank you.
see you in a month.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you very much again.
Thanks.
Yes.
Bye.
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 Bye.